The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome to Sister Speak. You're here with me, Mariam. Also joined with me in the studio is...
Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's me, Fareen.
And today we'll be talking about exploring the intersectionality of being a Muslim girl and belonging to and what it's like to be from a marginalized community. But before we start our show, what is our show about, Fareen?
So our show is a platform for Muslim girls to voice their own opinions on current events and issues and even inform discussions on general topics such as religion, culture, etc. Please know all opinions and views are our own and we respect all other or similar opposing views.
Yeah, so just to reiterate, if all opinions and views are on and we respect all other opposing views. If you want to join in the discussion, Fareen, how can they join us?
So you can call us on 01582 481 822 or you can send us a WhatsApp message on 07779 481 822. We're also live on Facebook at Inspire from Luton. And if after the show you have any thoughts or you want to, recommend us a topic that you want to here on the show, then you can message us on Instagram at Sister Speak.
Yeah, so we'd love to hear your thoughts, especially today. I think talking about exploring the intersectionality of being a Muslim girl, I think there's so many things that we can delve into, especially in terms of identity. So we'd love to hear your thoughts. So the first segment of the show, what we're doing is the thought of the week. So this segment is where we delve into something that we're thinking about, a reflection, perhaps a personal anecdote. So Fareen, what is your thought of the week?
Everyone knows what my thought of the week is going to be. If you listen to the show and you know I'm a year 13 student, today's the 16th of August, so everyone from on year 13, most of the people, they're probably thinking about results day and anxiety. And my thought of the week is literally about results day and how anxious I've been this week, because when you finish your exams, it's been 2 months, but when you finish your exams, results day seems so far away that you're not like, oh, I just do it. And now it's literally tomorrow. So this week I've been really, really anxious, and I've been telling my parents and my sister, and they're like, you're going to be fine, you're going to be fine. But I just have this feeling of I'm not being really optimistic, I feel like, with my results. And I feel like in my mind, I just think that I'm going to fail everything, which obviously I'm hoping not to. And there's like a 20% of me that's like, oh my God, I'm going to fail. But I'm trying to be really optimistic, and I'm talking with my friends as well, because we're all feeling obviously the same thing. And yeah, that's my thought of the week, how anxious I'm feeling about results today.
Well, I'm really sorry that you're feeling anxious, but it's not to minimize what you're going through. It's quite normal for people to feel anxious, especially when it comes to results days, because there's a huge pressure that's put on you on that day, because people have made it to be that this is your whole life trajectory position on that day. And I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of people don't realize that whilst you have put so much effort to ensure that you could do the best you can for your exams, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't get what you intended, it's the end of the world. It just means you may have to choose an alternative route, or it could even be, what if it goes well? I think a lot of the times we always think, what if it's the worst case scenario? So perhaps we should frame it more, what if it goes well? And I think one of the things that we've mentioned before on the show is about having tawakkul and knowing that you put all your effort in and you exhausted all options and you tried your best, and the rest is with Allah. And sometimes you might hate a thing that's good for you, but you might love a thing that's bad for you. And I think that's a really profound way to kind of frame your thought processes, because everything that you've done thus far is going to be on the route on where you're going to go. So I think for you, just to kind of console yourself, it's quite important to kind of recognize that you've done everything in your capacity. And even if you felt like you haven't, it's in the past now and you've learnt from it, and you know that you can re-strategize in the future when you do have exams and how you can effectively study. But now, just to put your things into perspective, I don't think you should I don't think you should put that much pressure on yourself. And I think the only reason why people feel that pressure is because you spend 2 whole years dedicated to that one day. you spend 2 years dedicated to studying and to ensure that that one day goes smoothly. But alhamdulillah, there's so many different options, and tomorrow Inspire FM will have a show on how you can get through clearing and how you can perhaps do foundation course if you don't get into the course that you want. There's so many different opportunities that are available to you. It's not necessary that if you don't get the grade, it's your last kind of option. That there's so many other options out there. It's just making yourself literate. And of course, when you're going to sixth form, you have your tutors there. They will be aware of it. Call different universities. They're able to tell you whether they've got a space. A lot of universities, they lower their entry requirements. So perhaps you wanted to go to a university and it was AAA and now it's going to be BBB. I myself have worked in admissions and I know definitely that's the case. So just see it as an opportunity just see it as an opportunity to kind of celebrate how much effort you put. I think there's a lot of onus on these grades. I don't think grades are not deterministic of who you are. Whilst you might have an A star, A, B, C, D, if you worked really hard for it, that does not measure how intelligent you are. It just might measure you in terms of those 2 years, but it doesn't mean that you don't have the potential or the capacity. And I think that's something that you need to internalize as well as you grow older, that your knowledge or your intelligence isn't contingent just on these things. It's more about how you kind of interact with people, how you process information, how you're willing to learn about new things, as opposed to having a grade that will demonstrate who you are. Unfortunately, in the real world, those grades are important in terms of logistics and in terms of operationally navigating certain job criteria, sure. But for your self-esteem, it shouldn't be the thing that frames everything for you. It's a bit long-worded response.
No, it's a good response. You've consoled me a little bit because honestly, my friends are feeling literally the same way, and we're trying to console each other. Like, oh no, you'll be fine. But in my mind, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna feel bad. I don't know I'm gonna be fine. So I think, the social media, like going through TikTok, going through Instagram, everyone's talking about it, and it's just making me more and more anxious all the time.
Oh yeah.
Because it's all the only thing that it's coming on my For You page. And it's like such a big like thumbnail. What happens if you don't get it? What happens to this? And it's like a whole, like a loophole going what everyone's saying, what everyone's experiences are. And sitting here, I'm realizing not everyone's experience is going to be the same on results day, and it hasn't been. And clearing is also a good option if I don't get into the uni that I want. So thank you, Mariam. But I'm still going to be really anxious.
No, it's understandable and justifiable, but just think about it. That anxiety is going to be over on the next day.
Yeah.
Hopefully, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Because everything is pre-written. It's your outcome is decreed already. And of course, you can make dua, and you can make dua that Allah gives you something that's, something that you want and your wishes. However, it's always going to be in your best interest, and then that's something that you have to repeat, that Allah's not going to give me anything or do anything to me that's not out of my interest. And the more you repeat that, and the more you have positive thoughts of Allah, the more things positively will go, and even your mindset will feel more positive. Because in Hadith Qudsi it says Allah is what you think of him, right? So if you positively think of him, and if you think he's the one that's a facilitator, if you think he's the opener, al-Fattah, then he'll open opportunities for you. So having that positivity can implicitly and explicitly help you to navigate such processes. But I hear you, what you say. It's very difficult because you worked so hard over the last 2 years, and I think that's one of the things as well. You learned so much in terms of your self-development. A lot of things about, you had to go through certain scenarios, whether that's through trying to get a certain grade or even just your social interactions. You've developed as a person over those last 2 years, and I don't think you should forget that as well, because that's kind of prepare you for the real world as well. So there's just so much you can take away. There's so much to celebrate, so much to learn and to develop, and it's just a process. It's not the end goal. It's still a continuation of a process. I think that's how you should view it. So you just don't know which direction you're going to go, but you're still in the process. I think that's something that could help you.
Yeah, definitely helping me. And I hope everyone who's listening, relax and listen to what Mariam's saying. And tomorrow 8 a.m, by 9 a.m, we're all going to be fine. We're all going to know where we are, inshallah.
Inshallah. Oh, thank you for your thought of the week. I think it was a very important thought of the week, and I hope everyone that has their results there. I pray Allah makes it easy for you, and I hope it goes well. And like I said, is just put your trust in Him, and everything should be fine, inshallah. And again, seek help where you can. So speak to your speak to your teachers, speak to your family. If you don't get the grades that you want, don't suffer in silence. There's so many ways around going around it logistically, in terms of trying to get to the university you want to get to, or another university, but also internally in terms of your mental health. Really do take care of it. And also, I would say to people who are getting the results, be conscious of your peers. If your peers are upset, try to kind of console them, be there for them, because all of you have gone through this process together, so you need to help each other out. It's all about teamwork.
Yeah, it is. If you want to let us know now how you feeling, you're going to always call us on 01582481822, and you can tell us how you're feeling. If you have anxiety like me.
Yeah, we can all share it. Sharing is caring. But no, I think it's really important to be supportive of each other, irrespective of what grades you got. Don't remove the humanistic aspect of it. It's really important to take care of your emotions. On that note, I want to ask you a question, and I think it's a very good segue, is what keeps you balanced?
What keeps me balanced? Wow, that's a really good question. Balance in terms of...
It's very ambiguous. You can answer it in any way, shape or form you would like.
I think I always try to have a balance between the time that I spend with myself and the time that I spend socializing, because honestly, socializing is so tiring, and even with your family, even with my siblings, you just need that alone time, and it's really hard when you're with so many people. So how do I maintain a balance? I just, when I'm praying, that's when I feel like I'm like just me and God, and that's how I balance it. And then after I pray, then all the chaos come back again, because my family is there, or I'm going out with my friends. But I think prayer is what keeps me balanced during the day and keeps me a bit at peace.
That's amazing. That's a wonderful thought. I think prayer is something that really does offer so much. It's not just about having your one-to-one interaction with Allah. I think there's so many other advantages of praying. For instance, the discipline that you have to be able to ensure that you pray on time, and even the idea of that you're submitting yourself. So if you're submitting to Allah, then you know that everything else around you is secondary or tertiary, but the primary focus on your primary purpose in life is to please Allah. And also, I feel like it does free you from the shackles of this world, because if you're a slave of Allah, then you're free from being a slave to everything else. And sometimes it's very easy to become a slave of everything else, slave of your thoughts, slave of social media, slave of work. I think it's very easy to become one-dimensional and allow that to control you, whereas having those 5 daily prayers allows you to free yourself from that. No, actually, my ultimate purpose in life is to please Allah, and He has ownership over me. No one else does, And I think those things can really help you to feel at peace and feel that spiritual inclination for you to continue to do those obligations toward Allah. Yeah. For me, what keeps me balanced, I think, is very similar to you. I don't know if it's prayer itself, but I think just the ideology that I will uphold myself to. So having, premising my thinking on Islam, I think the more I think about Allah, the more I feel at peace, and the more I think, okay, how do I navigate this certain situation, and what would Allah want from me? What's the kind of fiqh of it? I do think about that as well. But also an emotionally understanding that there's balance. In Islam, the whole perspective is to be in balance. It's never there's never imbalance between the two. There's something, one area of your life doesn't need to be in the expense of another. And I think sometimes people think in a binary way, but Islam is not like that. It's very conscious of your day to day. It's very individualistic, and it's very collective as well. And I think it's so beautiful, because it's all encompassing, and that makes me feel so balanced within myself, because I know Islam is considering every aspect of me, and at the same time I might not understand something, and there might be rules in place that perhaps I don't have the hindsight for. However, I know that it's in my best interest, and I think having those perspectives, having good thoughts of Allah, and having an understanding that this is for your betterment helps me to keep balanced. But also, I think the people around me as well. I think having good company allows you to objectively screen yourself. It allows you to see when you introspect and the reflections that you get from introspection, it allows you to see whether that's aligned with the people around you, whether their perception of you or their interaction with you reflects that too. So I think good company and making sure that they are people who strive to please Allah as well. If not more, their journey of Islam should be better than you, so you can feel like you have something high to strive for. And also family. I think those kind of elements for me personally allows me to become a balanced person. And it's not to say that I'm always constantly balanced. I think there's a lot of imbalances because life fluctuates. But it's having those kind of processes in place to ensure that when you have those imbalances, who do you turn to? What is your thought processes? How do you reflect? And especially for me, when I went through quite a lot of turbulence, I had to go through these processes to understand, okay, this is where I stand, and I have my support network around me to objectively screen the situation. But at the same time, ultimately, what would Allah want from me? Am I being just to myself? In terms of, with enduring things that I perhaps shouldn't be enduring, or am I being unjust to other people around me because of my reaction, And those are conversations you have to have with yourself after introspecting. So I think for me, to maintain a balance, I need multiple factors to be able to navigate certain things. I don't think it's one single facet for me.
Yeah, I think you're always going to feel overwhelmed. It doesn't matter what. It could be something that you're like so stressed about and everything, and you're just focusing on that one thing. And it has happened to me so many times where I just lose my balance because I'm focusing on that one stressful thing, like results day, for example. And it's because I'm so, you're so nervous and you're so this, then it impacts other people around you. So even though they're not waiting for anything, I'm making them nervous, and going to prayer, I think it's so nice because when you're sitting by yourself on your phone, then that anyone can come and like bother you, but when you're in prayer, no one can come and talk to you. So I think that's what keeps me balanced, knowing that no one's going to talk to me and I'm just in my space.
Oh my goodness, I never thought about it like that. When you're in prayer, no one disturbs you because obviously
they know you're praying.
But people don't it's not that people don't respect your space, but people feel entitled to you when you're doing something else. So obviously, unless you communicate it, it's not that same. I think that's the only space you have that's very exclusive. Very, very profound thought, actually. So thank you for sharing that, Fareen.
No worries.
Okay, so the next question I have is, what should you slow down on?
What should I slow it down on? I think on one show I said speaking because I speak really fast. Do you remember? I think I'm not going to say speaking. I feel like I'm speaking at a nice pace now. I'm like conscious about it. What should I slow down on? I'm going to say socializing. I don't know why socializing as in virtually on my phone. And I have so many thoughts of the week where I'm just saying how damaging it is to always be on my phone now that I don't have anything to do in summer. I say it, but I never put it in practice. So I'm going to say slow down on scrolling on social media all the time and spending my free time on my phone.
Okay. I'm going to ask, because we only have 4 more minutes, so I'm going to ask you a quick fire round for you. In the past year, what was the moment in which you felt the closest to Allah?
So in the past year, when my family member passed away, so that was the moment where I was really, really close to Allah, and I was obviously, you're really emotional, you don't want to talk with anyone. So that was the moment in my life that everything, my like perspective changed, because when someone passes away and you see it in other people, in other family, you want to go for condolences, but you actually don't know what they're going through. Or when it's someone close to you and it's your family member, then you just feel like you feel alone, but together in a sense, because everyone's coming to your house and everyone's gonna come give you condolences, but in your mind I remember I was just blank. I didn't want to talk with anyone, I didn't want to do anything. But then you go to the janazah, and I was experiencing it with my siblings. So that was the moment I think my family, we were just not talking to each other in like real life, but we were all connected through the janazah prayer or through the prayers that we were having at home. So I'm gonna say that was my moment.
That's I'm very sorry to hear about your family member passing. May Allah got them the highest rank in Jannah.
Ameen.
I think that's something so beautiful about Islam. It's so collective. And whilst you can have your individual experience with Allah and your spiritual journey with Him, the sense of community is something that's really paramount in our religion. And I think that those moments, you really need community to be able to navigate such difficulties and such obstacles.
Definitely.
And I think it really reconsolidates the importance of relationships and kinships, and that's something that's really emphasized in our religion. So I think that's really beautiful that you were able to, in such darkness, you were able to find some sort of light and solace.
Yeah.
And you were able to feel that actually this brought your family together and this brought you closer to Allah. And ultimately, anything that brings you close to Allah is always a blessing. Irrespective of how you feel at that moment, if it's bringing you closer to Allah, what more can you want?
Yeah.
You know? I think that's really nice for you to share.
It's so important to understand, obviously, that grief comes different in everyone. But in my family, it was the same for everyone, but we weren't talking to anyone but the community that we're part of. They just know how you're feeling. So yeah, I think that's really beautiful, the fact that we had community, we had help during those dark times.
Yeah, and especially that you came from Spain, and that sense of community perhaps probably wasn't there in Spain. It just shows how Allah times everything so perfectly.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like if I was in Spain and this happened, we wouldn't have the support that we had here. And the fact that here we had this community, which just, like, we didn't have to worry about, the whole process of like the janazah and everything. We didn't have to worry about anything because they were handling it. The community was handling it. And I think that was so beautiful because during those times, thank you for the community. And I don't know what to say now because I'm pressure.
No. I think what she's trying to say is that we do have a couple of seconds left, but I think what you're trying to round up to say is that it's such a great thing to have a community because it allows you to have that support network in your time of difficulty, and I think for us I think that's one of the things I mentioned in the earlier part of the show. Tomorrow's going to be a difficult day for a lot of people, and that's why it's really important that you are conscious and how your peers are feeling, because ultimately it's a challenging time. In the next half of the show, we'll be talking about intersectionality, so do join us, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Atif Nawaz. Listen to Inspire FM shows in your time by heading over to inspirefm.org or listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Ya hala, ya hala, ya hala, ya hala, ya hala, ya hala.
Two sisters speak. You're here with me, Mariam. Also joined with me in the studio is Fareen. So in the first half of the show, we were talking about reflections. We were talking about results day. And in the second half, we'll continue to kind of do some reflections and perhaps touch upon the idea of intersectionality. So the first question I'm going to ask you, Fareen, is when was the last time you faced a fear and how did you feel afterwards?
Ooh, these questions are so deep. You look like need time to think about what was my worst fear and how I processed it.
No, just the last time you faced a fear and how did you feel afterwards? So it could be anything. It doesn't need to be a huge fear. It could be, for me personally, if I can go first, is I was in a social circle where I had to raise my hand and speak about something.
Oh my god, I hate those ones.
And that was a fear that I have because I just dislike speaking in circles like that. And I felt really, really anxious when I was doing it. My heart was racing. And then once I did it, I felt so good about myself. And I think it's quite a persistent feeling. But anyways, I digress. Go back to you.
I don't know, Mariam, honestly, I understand you completely. I remember I used to go to this the volunteering thing every Saturday. And every Saturday, we used to be in a circle, like you're saying. And we had to say our name, just literally our name, so we know who we're going to pair up with. And I remember my heart was racing, my hands were shaking. And then in the moment, I just had to say Fareen. And you could tell, like, my voice was shaking. And it's literally, I didn't even have to say, like, I don't know, the periodic table. I just literally just had to say my name. But just in front of, so it was like 20 people. It's not fear, but you get so much, like, anxious. You get so nervous that you're going to do something wrong. So I completely understand you. And it's such a valid fear.
How did you feel afterwards after you said your name?
Because my friends were around, so you just go, like, watching around everyone's reactions, what they're thinking about you. So that's what I did.
I think I used to be like that when I was younger, when they used to say the register and you have to, like, prepare for your name.
Yeah.
Well, it's a really strange phenomenon, to be honest. But I think, why do we feel so nervous? It's the fear. It's not the fear of speaking. It's the fear of how people are going to receive that or perceive us if we say it wrong. Yeah,
you just reminded me of something. When I came for my first year of high school after Spain and everything, in form, obviously the teacher says your name and then you have to say here. So I remember I didn't want anyone to know that I was like foreign, that I just came. So I used to say hey in like a British accent, so no one would understand, that no one would think it. But then I would speak in an American accent, so everyone would be like, why is she like doing? And then my friend told me, she was like, why are you saying hey? It's because when you say it, and I think my thought process was, if I say it how everyone's saying it, no one's gonna know that it's me in that form, because I was so nervous that if I say here, everyone's gonna be like, why is she talking like this, why is she talking like that? So yeah, just a really anecdote that I went through. For a whole year I was doing this just because I was nervous that everyone was gonna think that I'm foreign.
But then in terms of, well, personally, I'm really sorry to hear that you had to go through that, because the fact that you felt like you had to assimilate as opposed to integrate shows that your class perhaps were not the most comforting place to be in, or the environment. But peer pressure is a huge thing in those kind of settings. But I'm glad you kind of overcame it. How did you overcome it?
I grew out of it. I started making friends around. When we finished high school, I had like 2 friends, and they just made me feel so comfortable. You know, when I speak, obviously I didn't speak English in Spain, obviously, so here I speak it more often. So I was talking with them, and you know, when you get stuck or something, they would like help me, or they would wait, and that made me feel so comfortable. And honestly, I'm so grateful for that, those 2 friends that I made in high school, that whenever I was speaking and I would get stuck, they would finish the sentence for me, or they would tell me what it was. Like, I just felt so comfortable asking them, for example, what is this? I knew the Spanish word, I just had to ask them to translate it in English. And I think being surrounded by people that make you feel comfortable, and you know, everyone makes mistakes, maybe they are thinking the same thing even though they're like from here. So that's how I overcame it. I just became really close with these 2 girls, and they helped me throughout this.
Well, I'm very grateful for those 2 friends, because without them you would not be here, to be honest.
I actually wouldn't.
That confidence did not rise. So I think, see how important it is to have good company. And I think that if you even look at your own reflection, you're literally on a radio show, and before you were scared to say here and here, I got
like present here, yeah.
No, I can't say the American accent, so. But to say it here in an American accent, and it just shows that, you know, you have to be able to go through really uncomfortable experiences to be able to go out your comfort zone, and to be able to kind of progress and to see the successful side of things. Because had you not gone through those processes, and had you not been uncomfortable, and had you not gone through that process, perhaps you might not have been here today on a radio show, you know, speaking about incredible topics, sharing your passion, sharing your ideas, and really being able to navigate a conversation. And that's not a skill that's everyone has. I think for you to have this ability, especially after knowing so many languages, it's an incredible
thank you, Mariam.
Achievement.
So sweet.
It's a very incredible achievement. I always try to showcase that, because I think it's really important to kind of celebrate those kind of wins for yourself, especially when you're in 6th form. It takes a lot of confidence. I don't think I would have been able to do it in 6th form, not at all. So it's a huge achievement. Well done, Fareen.
Thank you. Honestly, I compare all the time. Obviously, my dad, he saw this development, because I was living with my dad. Then we came here, and I remember he used to push me and my sister. We're the oldest ones in our family. He used to push us to, if we had to go to a shop or ask for, I don't know, takeaway or something, for us to do it on the phone, so we can practice how it is. Because if my dad does everything for us, then we're not gonna have that, you know, oh, I can do it, I can speak in English, I can speak on the phone. Because I've said it so many times, I do not understand the British accent on the phone when I first came here. Now I do. But those first moments, me and my sister used to be like, no, you do it. My dad was like, no, you're going to do it, or we're not going to order takeaway. And we're just like, okay. So I'm also really grateful for my dad to, you know, he is the one that pushed me and my sister out of our comfort zone. And when I compare it to now, I wouldn't have been where I am without him, obviously in all aspects.
That's so sweet, and I think your dad did a great job in terms of trying to encourage you both to be able to go out of your comfort zone, and to kind of help you to integrate as much as you can, because this is part of your community now. You know, you came to the UK, this is your home, and you should feel comfortable to be able to speak. And I think even if you travel around the UK, to be honest, sometimes I don't even understand certain accents. Sometimes people don't even understand my accent. It's okay. People have different dialects. I think it's just being empathetic and understanding. And I think people should not misconstrue the notion that if you speak a certain way, it measures your intelligence. I disagree with that concept completely. In fact, I saw this very nice quote the other day. If someone is speaking in quote-unquote broken English, it means that they know 4 other languages for the fact that they have to speak broken English to you, and you only know 1. And I just thought that is such a powerful way of framing things, because a lot of people feel that they have to assimilate in terms of accents even, to ensure that people don't see them or they don't feel othered by the other person. And I think that's really important to kind of celebrate when you do have this diverse aspect of you. I think that's about intersectionality, having different aspects of your identity that all kind of amalgamate to make you one. You have your Spanish identity, you're forming your British identity, or you are in your British identity now. Then you have your Muslim identity, and then you have your heritage in terms of being Indian. And I think all of those things can be celebrated, and they can all be championed, and they all make you who you are. And I think people who tend to be one-dimensional and cannot foresee that are people that probably are problematic, firstly, and secondly, or they lack the ability to see beyond one dimension.
They're really closed-minded.
Yeah, closed-minded, or perhaps even they might be ignorant, not in a malicious way. It's just they've never met people with these kind of intersectionalities. So it's really important that you champion yourself. I think that's the fundamental thing. You have to champion yourself and champion the people around you as well, because that's how communities thrive, when you're supporting one another. And then for me, my identity, I've always been very proud Muslim. I think my cultural background was always kind of in the backseat, because I faced a lot of negativity being a Muslim institutionally. So for me, I've always been very unapologetic about my faith, very proud that I'm a Muslim, and I'm always was keen to kind of showcase that, look how beautiful my religion is. It allows me to strive for the best person I can be in terms of my character, and I think that's something that should be exhibited in you in terms of how you work. And people should praise you and think, okay, she's a Muslim, that's why she works like this. For me, that's a very important notion. So yeah, I think I digress. Any thoughts, Fareen?
Yeah, I think because we like, for me, for example, when I started wearing hijab, I'm like literally showcasing that I am, Muslim. You're showing it to everyone. And I think I said it in another show, but wearing it and not wearing it is such a big difference, because when I'm not wearing it, the first thing that everyone thinks is maybe, oh, she's Indian, because I just look Indian. But now that I'm wearing it, the first thing that they think it's Muslim. And I think that's so beautiful, because that's how I want to be identified as before, like, the first thing.
Absolutely. I think that sometimes it is difficult, and it's not to say that there isn't challenges that comes with wearing a hijab and being identifiable as a Muslim, because Islamophobia is very prevalent. And actually, even if you look at European history, look at the Bosnian genocide, it was through Islamophobia. So I think it's really important to understand that whilst there are challenges there that are present, I think you have to be able to have a balanced view of things. I think you can't disregard the difficulties that come with it. And I think that's why community is so important, to be able to represent yourself in different circles, to normalise wearing hijab, to normalise that you as a person have all these aspects of your identity, but that doesn't make you any less than anyone else. So yeah, I think that's my final thoughts on that. Moving on to the next question, which is I like to talk about emotions a lot, because emotional intelligence is important, and reflection.
Atomic Habits is about the book.
Atomic Habits is not really... Atomic Habits more about how you can cultivate good habits to make you a more productive and conducive person. But I think I'm reading Imam Ghazali a lot lately, and I think I was quite interested in emotional intelligence always. I think that's something that's very important to me, because I feel that derives from our religion. But moving on to the question now, what are you preventing yourself from feeling?
Oh, what am I preventing myself from feeling? I don't want to feel like I'm a failure because of my results. Is that all I can think about? But that's what I'm preventing. Like, I'm trying to be really optimistic about it. So because it's so recent, I'm sorry I'm saying everything is about results today, but that's literally what I'm trying to prevent.
Don't apologize
myself.
That's your feelings.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to prevent. I'm trying to be more optimistic and think that everything's for the best, honestly. Like, if I don't get the grades that I want, then I can always, there's so many other options, and that's what I'm preventing from. I'm trying not to have negative thoughts about what the result's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's a very big day. We'd love to hear reflections next year, and not next year, next week.
Tune in next week, and I'll let you guys know my grades. I'll let you guys know how, like, the whole experience and everything. And I want to know all of you guys' feelings and thoughts as well. So if you want to join now as well, you can always call us or WhatsApp us. And next week, let us know your experiences as well.
If they want to call us or WhatsApp us, how can they do that?
So you can call us on 01582 481 822. And if you want to WhatsApp us your experiences, 07779 481 822. We're always happy to hear what you're thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. And it could be anonymous as well. You don't have to say your name. We'd just love to hear your thoughts. Do you think preventing yourself from feeling is healthy? Or can it be healthy, or what do you think it is? Do you think it's healthy, or is it not healthy?
It depends. I think it depends on on what you're feeling.
Absolutely.
So, if, for example, if you're feeling that you I don't know, you're being discriminated and you're feeling really angry about it, I think speaking out is so important. So I wouldn't prevent myself from feeling angry because this is what's happening with me. This is what the situation is. But it's a hard one, because what kind of feelings would you say you want to prevent from feeling? I think
all feelings shouldn't be prevented. I think you're entitled and you should be able to feel every emotion. It's just how much you allow it to reside within you is what you need to prevent. So if it's consuming you and it's paralyzing you, that's when you have to intervene within yourself, or intervene in terms of getting help to navigate those big emotions. But I don't think you should try to resist emotions that you feel, because that's a very natural process, whether it's anger, whether it's how it's exhibited and how it's demonstrated, perhaps more so than that, in terms of if you're angry and you're going to punch someone, then yes, you need to prevent your actions. But to feel the emotions, I don't think you should prevent yourself from feeling any type of emotion. I think you should allow yourself to go through those emotions, but you should have the tools in place or the techniques in place to be able to govern them and to know what can reside and what shouldn't reside within you, and even understanding how much time you should give for each of these emotions, because as we have discussed in the early part of the show, it's all about balance. I need to ensure that you don't have an imbalance, because sometimes emotions can translate in your physical, the way you physically feel. So if you're really anxious, or if you're nervous about something, it can explicitly come in terms of how you feel about this situation, but also how your body reacts. So I think, to answer the question, I think, for personally, what are you preventing yourself from feeling? For myself, I think I'm preventing myself feeling a whole host of emotions. I don't think I'm preventing. I think it's just, I know these emotions are present and I'm trying to kind of bring them to the forefront. Sometimes they're very aggressive, sometimes they're not. It's kind of understanding what my emotions are. Because I had such a turbulent couple of weeks, I think it's just understanding, okay, the feelings that I had then, they were very prevalent and they were at the forefront. And I allowed those emotions to pass, but I think they're still prevalent within me. So I just don't know if I have those emotions still within me or not. I'm trying to kind of navigate
through it.
Yeah, navigate through it.
Yeah, I don't think it's healthy at all to suppress anything you're feeling, even if you're feeling happy, sad, angry. It's always gonna come out one way or the other, honestly. And it's gonna, if you're feeling really, really angry, and for example, it happened to me. If I was feeling really, really angry about something and I didn't want to tell anyone, and then just one day, I don't know what, my poor brother, I just took it out on him, and it's just, because I suppressed it in the moment. So I think it's so unhealthy to do that, and you're just thinking about that all the time as well. So yeah, don't suppress your feelings, and it's something that I'm trying to work on as well. And you don't have to apologize for what you're feeling. I think that's really also important to understand.
I think it's really important being conscious of those emotions, because like you said, if you don't be conscious and if you don't govern them, then it's going to affect the people around you, and it's not fair on them to be able to feel the grunt of your emotions. And I think that's why introspection is really important, because you're exercising the ability to reflect on your emotional well-being or emotional state, and how that pans out is something that you're going to have to take accountability and ownership of. So thank you, Fareen, for sharing that, because I think it's very easy for us to talk about these things, but actually in practice, a lot of us go through these day to day, and we need to know how we can navigate them, how to identify them, because sometimes people lack the self-awareness. They may think they're self-aware and they may project these kind of feelings on people without understanding the implication of that. And so that's why I really focus on having introspection. And sometimes if people around you are saying, okay, this is my experience of you, and multiple people are saying this is the experience of you, then it needs to be a point of consideration. And you might not agree fully, but there needs to be a point of consideration. But that's only if you're open-minded. If you're closed-minded, you won't be able to kind of have hindsight. So it's really important to be able to challenge yourself. If you're quite pedant, it's important to challenge yourself if you have a one-dimensional view and you're not willing to hear another person's perspective. Whilst you might think you're hearing another person,
it's okay, Mariam.
Okay.
We hear you.
Whilst you might think you're hearing another person's perspective, it might not be the fact that you're actually absorbing what they're saying, and that's hindering you from actually improving yourself.
Yeah, I think, when you're hearing someone else's perspective, so when you're hearing someone else's perspective from the other side, what happens is sometimes you just think of what your perspective is and how you're gonna say that to other people, but you're not actually listening to what the other person's saying. So I think that's really, really true.
Yeah, sorry for everyone that's listening. I had a very long day, and I'm not feeling very well, so
it's okay, Mariam. You can project your emotions.
I can project my emotions. I can share my emotions. It's not been a very good day for me, so I'm finding it hard to articulate myself. But that's okay. We can continue this conversation. Okay, so the next
question
I have is, what are you struggling to let go that no longer serves you? Oof, that's so relevant for me.
You should answer the question. You go ahead first, then. While I think about
many things. I think certain ideas of people, or having people in my life, or the idea of them, is very hard for me to let go. That they no longer serve me and they're not positively impacting me. In fact, they're doing the complete opposite. I think that's something that's been quite difficult for me to kind of hold myself account to. Whilst everyone around me is saying, okay, you need to let go, I think the ability to do that is not something that's happening for me. So I think I'm struggling with that. I think I've come to a better space and better time, and I think that slowly I'm able to let go of how I've been impacted. But I think it's still a struggle. It's not something that I can say I've overcome yet. I think I'm in the process.
Yeah, I relate to you. I'm going to say the same thing. I tend to take with me what I think that other people are thinking about me. So obviously I don't know what completely they're thinking about me or for the first impression, but it's something that I tend to do, and it's really, really toxic actually, because I get I can't sleep, or when there's an embarrassing moment that happened to me or something like that, I just can't let it go, and all I'm thinking is what's the other person thinking, what's the other person thinking, and that other person, they maybe don't even know that something happened to me. They don't care. They don't care. But I take it with me, and it stays with me for weeks, like 2-3 weeks, proper 2-3 weeks. All I'm doing is thinking about it. And then when I see them the next, I don't know, after those 3 weeks or something, I don't even bring it up. They don't bring it up. And I'm just like at peace. And then after that, I can do it. But it's really hard for me to let other people's opinions go. And if they say it to me, like, in my face, it stays with me for like months. So I have to work on that.
I think it's about I completely hear you, and I resonate with you, because that used to be me. That literally used to be me. And I think one of the things that you mentioned is really true, is that the fact that these people are not thinking even for a millisecond about you, and you're thinking about them all day.
The time, yeah.
So there's an imbalance there, firstly. Secondly, even if they have this opinion on you and it's misconstrued, that's their opinion, and it's just an opinion. You know yourself. The people that are around you, that love you and know you, and if they have a misconception and you try to address it and they still stay staunch in terms of holding that view, then they're not the right people to interact with anyways. That's a revelation that you need to have anyways for you to be able to progress and to have a healthy circle. So that's the way I kind of view things. If people are insisting to misunderstand you, then you need to walk away, because you don't need that kind of energy in your life. You need the people that understand you, that are willing to understand you. They may not understand you in all aspects, because you may not even understand yourself in all aspects, but they're willing to be empathetic towards you, and they want to invest in your potential, and they want to stand with you. And I think that's a process that you kind of learn as you grow older, because you realize that you don't have the time or space or energy to be able to think about these things, because there's just so much other commitments that you have.
Yeah. I think because I'm in my free time, that's all I can think about.
I think self-esteem as well, having a sense of self-esteem, and I think you've went through a lot of difficulties perhaps that has shaped your self-esteem. But I think even being around people who build your confidence is really important, especially when you lack it. And that's not to say that people should fill those gaps, because you yourself have to proactively build them. But you should have support systems that help you along the way in terms of building it. So thank you for sharing that thought on that question. Okay, we do have a very short time left.
Should we do like a rapid fire question now?
No, this is a good question. I feel like it's a different it's a shift from what we've been talking about the whole show.
All right.
If you were to start a new business today, what would it be?
Oh wow, this is a lighthearted question. I like this question.
I know you did. That's why I did the last question.
I think to start a business, I really like clothes, but when I say clothes, I really like modest clothes, like abayas and stuff like that. And that's what my business would be: abayas, hijabs. And I would also like, those. Oh my god, I would also start a business. You know those things where it's like, how do you say the
Books?
the you put on the wall.
Posters.
Yeah, like a poster thing, but it's when it's written like Allah, Bismillah on
Oh,
it.
calligraphy.
Yeah, or I would love to start a business like that, but because I'm not like, I don't have the, like my sister does, the creative side where you can like draw anything that you want. It takes me ages to draw something, but if I had that skill, I would love to have a business like that, because I feel like it's so, I see TikToks about it and I see how they're doing it, and they're like, there's so much, going into it and stuff like that, and I would love to start a business like that.
That's very therapeutic.
Yeah, I don't know why it feels, when you see someone else doing it, it feels like there's so much peace just doing the thing, and they put like on a sheet in the background, and it just makes me feel like I want to do this as well. I feel like I'm going to feel so much peace, but I know I don't have the skill to do it, because I know I draw and I write. Like when I have to do a poster or something, I always get my sister to do it. So if she starts it, I'm going to support it.
I think you can do it yourself as well, because I did some calligraphy when I was, I think your age, maybe a bit older. Actually, your age, maybe. And I was like you, I have no artistic skills. When I was younger, I was very good at art. Actually, I was very good. I used to, instead of colouring books, I used to draw the picture of the colouring book. I don't know where it's gone now. I can't even draw to save my life. But there was like this calligraphy course that I did. And the way you kind of develop that skill is through practice. With anything, you have to practice. True. So I think if you want to really do it, you can definitely, even when you go to university, there might be a calligraphy society. I'm
going to join it. I love it, and it's something that I've been telling my sister about it, and she just does it in front of me, and I'm like, "How are you doing this?" I think I have to learn it, but I would love to start a business.
You can watch
like
a lot of YouTube videos on how to do calligraphy. You just need to buy the tools, and you kind of practice. And there's like booklets out there as well that you can just print out and practice with ink how to do calligraphy. So I think one of the main kind of takeaways is that if you really want to start something, there's so much resources out there. So if you feel like you don't have the skill, go acquire it. There's so much research out there. You just have to practice. No one is, and yes, talent, is something that some people are born with and they can do it, but it doesn't compensate for strategy. Strategy is something that can actually build lots of talents, and I think people don't see it in that way. There's so many things that I wasn't very good at. For example, I wasn't very good at public speaking in terms of radio. Sometimes I have my off days, like for instance today, but it's something that I acquired. So I think it's really important to learn that if you really want to do something, just go try it and try to refine and try to develop it. Any final thoughts?
The excuse thing is so real. I was making so many excuses like, I don't have the art to be talent with. I'm going to make it my sister to do it. Now you're putting things into perspective. There's so many things that I can do to actually learn it. Like you said, I can buy a booklet. I can just learn it on YouTube. All I'm thinking is my sister will do it. Because she has like the art, like the creative side. But yeah, I was just making up excuses now. There was like a cloud of things that were, what am I going to do? And now you cleared it up, Mariam. Thank you.
So can I be your first customer?
Yes, you can. I'm going to give it to you for free.
I want to be your first customer. Can I be your first customer? Would you give me that honor?
Of course you can. Anyone who's listening, I'm joking. I'm not going to start now. In the future, inshallah.
I think we had a very good, interesting show today. We talked about various things, and I think self-reflection is very important for us, especially in the Sister Speak team. Join us next week where we will continue this conversation. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.